Hello there, everyone. This is Noah from Knights of 67, and boy, oh boy, this is going to be a huge video in not only length, but just in in-depth discussion and everything like that. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it is certainly going to be very, very long. I may bring on some guests over the course of the show. It's going to be very, very lengthy. I may bring in some friends and stuff that have general opinions of the expansion, and I'll ask them what they think and everything like that. And this is really going to be a community driven video of reactions and everything like that. General features, it's going to be a monstrous video on Warlords of Draenor. So if you have not seen it, Warlords of Draenor has been announced, and I will show off the reveal trailer right now, and then we will go ahead and get into the thick of things. So I will see you guys in a bit.
It is the lifeblood of this world. We are its children. Soon, its masters. Is a legacy of conquest. A rising tide of blood and iron that will wash over this world and all others. Iron. Our will unbreakable. Who will stand against us?
So where to begin with this expansion? Wow, there's a lot here, and it's such a unique concept. Basically, I'm going to be breaking this video into numerous parts. 3 main parts, similar to my What is the Next WoW expansion video that I made a couple months ago. Basically, the first part is going to be more tangible features like gameplay additions and everything like that, and going in depth to all those gameplay elements that may be initially confusing, and I will try and clarify them as much as I can to my knowledge to make them easier for you to comprehend and get a better idea of what's going on. The second part will be lore. It hasn't been expanded on too much, but I will certainly try and go into the lore section a little bit behind this expansion. And then lastly, I will share the thoughts and feelings of the community so far, my personal thoughts and feelings, and then just kind of speculating as to where the story and even gameplay elements and everything could go for the future of World of Warcraft and over the course of this expansion. So this is going to be a super lengthy video, and I'm not going to put it into actual separate parts of uploading. It's just going to be a humongous video, which is why in the video itself I'm characterizing it in parts and everything like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the first one here that was in the reveal trailer. New World Draenor. Okay, well, where do we start with this? Well, if you are not particularly familiar with the lore behind Draenor, Draenor is what we now know as Outland, but Draenor was Outland before it was corrupt and destroyed by, well, not only ransacking Burning Legion, but numerous portals being created by, Gul'dan and Ner'zhul, and just their warlock-ish, abilities and so forth, and their black magics, basically destroying the land and forcing it to be all, evil and stuff as we know it today. So Draenor is before all that. You can think of it like the Emerald Dream to Azeroth, like before anything bad happened. That's kind of what Draenor is to Outland. Only, of course, there are still bad things going on because it's Warcraft and there are always those little underlying themes, but you get the gist. Basically, the landscape is still, it's like Azeroth. So I really like what they're doing because it's like going back, because if you remember in Burning Crusade, going to Outland was just like a whole new world, that we truly got to explore. And they're going back to their roots a little bit with Draenor. They are rewarding exploration. They are just leaving this huge new world open to us that's essentially Outland, but probably bigger and more developed, and looks absolutely fantastic from the art standpoint and everything like that. So Draenor, I definitely look forward to exploring. So that is the general gist of the new world, Draenor. Build and upgrade your garrison. Now this was truly a very, very unique idea. Now this is a perplexing one at first because you go, okay, well what the hell is a garrison? Let me explain. So for those of you that have purchased the BlizzCon virtual ticket or have been to BlizzCon or whatever, you already probably know what the garrison is, but I'm willing to bet that most of you do not, or that you only have a general idea. So if any of you have ever played an RTS game, real-time strategy like StarCraft or Warcraft games, the classic Warcraft games, then you know that over the course of those RTSs, of course, it all revolves around building a base and building up your units and everything like that. And you may also know that originally in vanilla WoW, in like the pre-alpha or like pre-beta or whatever the hell, they originally had concept for player housing. Of course, they scrapped it because they thought the idea wouldn't work, because it would just be like an little instance thing, and the technology probably wasn't there to make it really good. So it was probably the right move at the time. Now, what this garrison is the garrison is basically like an RTS base that you would build in Warcraft 3, only it's your customizable base that you build in the real world. And you get to train all kinds of troops, you get to name them, you get to send them out on missions, all this super cool stuff. And exactly how it would work, I don't necessarily know. I don't know all the ins and outs, but apparently it's not going to be an instance thing. Apparently it's going to be in the real world. I would imagine that they would use some kind of phasing system. Otherwise, there would be massive lag and just people's crap everywhere with their garrisons. So basically this is a buildable base that you are there to customize. Again, there are multiple tiers. I believe there are 3 tiers that are available for these garrisons. The first tier is just real basic, basic border, basic buildings. Then tier 2 gets a little bit more advanced, and then tier 3 is like full customization, and you get like little statues and little trophies and stuff for like certain achievements. Say like you killed Garrosh like before the release of 6.0 or something, so you get like a little statue maybe of like Garrosh or something. Or if you kill a rare mob out somewhere in Draenor, then you take its head and you can like put it on a pike in your garrison for everyone to see. And so it's like a little bragging rights thing, and that's super, super cool. I really, really like that. And so, it's interesting. I'm not quite sure how, again, they'll make it work with the whole open world thing. But basically, this garrison system, I think, will be very, very cool, because these missions that you can send all these people on, because basically you can build like barracks and stuff. And the most basic thing, I believe, is the inn that you get. Now, these bases, from what I understand, are right now they are just based on Horde or Alliance themed, but they may turn into racial themed. I believe someone asked that in a Q&A session at BlizzCon, and the developer said that they may end up doing that, since it is very much a work in progress. So basically you'll have an inn, and you'll go in there and you'll find just random NPCs, and you can go ahead and name them and recruit them. And if other people visit your garrison, they'll have the same name and everything. So you could find a Worgen and name him Worgen Freeman. That's a pretty good idea. I like that. And basically you could send him out on missions to kill something or do your dirty work, so to speak, as the Blizzard employees put it. And just all kinds of cool stuff, and you'll get all kinds of rewards, and you'll really build up this base. And as far as like the rewards and stuff, like they didn't really elaborate as to what it would consist of. All they said were rewards. They were really just trying to focus on highlighting the main thing and telling people what a garrison is, because it's still very much a work in progress, as everything is, I'm sure, in this expansion. So that is an overview of the garrison, a very, very unique feature. So it is basically the equivalent of World of Warcraft housing, which we have wanted for like 10 years now by the time this expansion comes out in 2014. So very, very cool. A great feature, and I look forward to using it very, very much to customize my garrison. But one more thing I would like to touch on with the garrisons is that there is a unique feature where you could build a blacksmith or someplace like that, and basically you can get access to certain professions that you don't have trained. So say you are blacksmithing and mining, you could get access, say, to tailoring that you obviously do not have trained. Now it's limited, of course, but you could have all these artisans in your base. So say they actually had an example of a blacksmith, right? And he had all his equipment there and stuff, and basically he would just be there working, and you could talk to him and have him craft stuff and other things like that. And speaking of crafting, you can actually craft from your bank now. I remember that, but that's beside the point. And all kinds of cool stuff. And then like when it's raining, like he'll like go underneath like a little hooded part with like a roof or whatever, and like he'll just sit there and like drink beer or just like relax or something. So it like makes you feel that it's like an actual environment, and like these NPCs that are in your garrison have like real lives and stuff. And it's really, really cool. Like it's something we've never even come close to knowing in World of Warcraft, and it just has so much promise, and I am just ecstatic. I am so looking forward to this next expansion. Just from the stuff they've previewed, it looks absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. So with that, let's go ahead and get on to the next point here. New character models. At long last, these finally arrive. They have been highly requested, and they finally arrive, and they look very, very spectacular as I am filtering through them here. They look awesome. The only ones truly available in animation and everything like that is the male orc, male dwarf, and male gnome. They also showed off female gnome at BlizzCon, and then some little snippets and sneak previews of other races, but these are really the only fully animated ones that I could find. And they will update them on the website of Warlords of Draenor and everything like that, and I will probably post videos when new ones are posted and everything like that. So it's really not that much of a surprise that these have been added to the game. So I definitely look forward to seeing all the kinds of different models. And the dwarf really, really looks spectacular. I mean, as much hair as they have facial wise, and then they added all kinds of body hair, and just really the detail. I mean, the orc looks good. The facial details with all of them look really, really nice, but the dwarf to me just really stands out and really shows what this can do. And I can't wait to see races like the Tauren or the Undead or races like that. I mean, I saw little sneak previews of them during BlizzCon, but to see the real model in action, I will not be able to wait for that. And also these new backgrounds, I believe, will probably be on the character creation screen as well. So that's all well and good. These new models again look, absolutely spectacular, and I cannot wait to see all of the other ones in action. So let's go on now to the next point. Level cap raised to 100. Now again, this doesn't come as that much of a shocker either, because if you remember my video about the heirloom raid weapons that drop off of Garrosh Hellscream at the end of Siege of Orgrimmar, they obviously said 90 to 100. And so that was a clear indication that in this next expansion, or at least sometime in the future, that they were planning on going to level 100. So it's really not that big of a shocker that the level cap has been raised to 100. I definitely do look forward to seeing, what kind of new abilities, and you can see that the shaman at the beginning lifted up earth or whatever, and I hope we get that, because that'd be pretty badass. I mean, we'd be like earthbenders. Again, it's not exactly that big of a surprise, but it's definitely gonna be really cool, and I can imagine our health pools and our damage output and everything like that would just be really, really crazy and everything like that. So there's not much to say on that. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Again, we saw it coming, and I cannot wait. New dungeons and raids. Now, this is an interesting topic because they actually haven't abandoned the new dungeon system at all. They haven't abandoned challenge modes or anything like that. They haven't abandoned heroic dungeons, thank God. There's going to be 7 new dungeons off the bat, I believe they said. I'll try and pull up the list of them for you, but if I can't find them, then oh well. And basically, they are keeping the same difficulties. They're keeping normal, they're keeping heroic, and they're keeping challenge modes. I don't know how much they'll change those difficulties. I know they said that they're going to make normal dungeons more relevant again, and have a more, well thought out and more developed gearing and progression process and everything like that. So normal mode dungeons should play a part, which means heroic dungeons may be a lot harder, and hopefully challenge mode dungeons will be less based on time and more based on just sheer difficulty and things of that nature. And then as far as raids is concerned, they have announced 2 raids, and again, I'll try and find the names of them because I can't think of them initially. One is a 6 boss raid, the other is a 10 boss raid, and basically these are going to be released in the same fashion that Mukushan and the Heart of Fear and all that was at the beginning of Pandaria. The first one with 6 bosses will kind of, as they put it, whet your appetite a little bit and just kind of get you used to the rating in this next expansion and everything. And it will consist of 6 bosses, and then the one after that will consist of 10. And of course they will be released separately and everything like that. So I mean, they're both 6.0 raids, but similar to how Pandaria released their rating, that is how this expansion's ratings will go at launch as well. So very, very unique, but there are significant changes to the rating difficulty. And what is now Raid Finder difficulty will still probably be called Raid Finder in the next expansion, but they are changing them up. There's still going to be 4 difficulties of raiding next expansion, but it's going to be a bit different. And I think there was a comparison chart, and again, I'll try and find it, but if I can't, then oh well. I'll just try and explain it here, mapped out in my head. So from what I understand, they are making Raid Finder like a flexible raid that you can queue for and everything like that. So basically, it's no longer just a predetermined 25 people. It's anywhere from 10 to 25, just like Flexi difficulty. Only it's Raid Finder. So that's kind of cool, and I don't know how much that will scale the rewards or difficulty or anything like that. They didn't really elaborate on that. And then what is now known as flexible rating is considered normal mode rating next expansion, and again it scales from 10 to 25. So that's known as normal mode rating next expansion. And then after that, we have what is now considered normal separate 10 and 25 man rating will then be considered heroic rating next expansion. And then after that, we will have mystic difficulty or mythic or something. I forget what it's called. And that's basically going to be like the most hardcore of the hardcore, and that is going to be a 20-man raid. So very cool changes and additions to the rating system, and I actually like these difficulty changes and these ideas that they're going for. I definitely think it's more fitting, and it may add more balance and general things like that. So I look forward to seeing how this works, and if they put that stuff in beta and everything like that, how that will work in this Warlords of Draenor expansion. So those are the changes to raids and dungeons, and again I will try and find those charts and bring them up. And so let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. Boost to 90 and play immediately. Now this feature has caused a lot of controversy, really the only controversy I've seen regarding this expansion really. that's worth noting anyway. And that is, a lot of people have been really irrational in how they approach this. They think, oh, well, you know, you can just do that with any character. False, because it's meant for one character. So if you had a level 80 character from Wrath or something that you haven't touched in years, you could just get them to 90 and experience the content right away. And again, I mean, I think most of the criticism that has been, you know, revolving around this concept is fair. I think it's fair to criticize this because I don't think it's necessarily the right thing to do. And it's really meant, as Blizzard said, to have players that haven't played in a while to just be able to drop back into the game through an, you know, whatever, and just experience the stuff. But and I would imagine that this wouldn't even work with new accounts, because that'd just be fucking stupid. Because then you basically just are just focusing on this 10 level leveling up and then end game, and then that's it. And that, you know, the old player doesn't get to experience everything else. So that seems really dumb. So they probably wouldn't do that. But even doing it for people that come back to the game, I mean, that's kind of stupid. Because say, like my brother, for instance, you know, he didn't play all of Cataclysm or Pandaria. So he really hasn't played since Wrath of the Lich King. So if he came back and got this level 90 character, I think he would be, honestly, you know, not satisfied with that, because obviously he'd be like, okay, well, what the hell did I miss in leveling up in Cataclysm and Miss Pandaria? And I mean, you naturally want to know what the hell you're gonna miss. I mean, yes, it's nice to get into the new stuff, but I mean, like, if you didn't experience the old stuff, then why the hell would you just want to skip to the new stuff? I mean, that's stupid. I mean, that's like playing Halo and then not playing Halo 2 and then skipping to like Halo 3 or, you know, whatever. I mean, you know, you just don't do that in a linear series, you know, in a linear story. Or that's like skipping from like the first Harry Potter movie to like the 5th. It's just like, what the fuck, you know, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm getting kind of fired up about this, but basically, you know, don't judge the expansion based on this one little decision. If I had to guess, Blizzard will probably scrap it by the time even beta comes out, and, you know, it'll probably be non-existent, because with like Cataclysm, they dropped a couple things that they announced in the trailer and everything. So yeah, I don't think it'll really make it through to retail. And, you know, it's the whole don't judge a book by its cover thing. You know, don't base the expansion on this. You know, just be optimistic, because this expansion has everything good going for it, basically, except for that little part there. So that's all well and good, and just leave well enough alone when it comes to that. And I suppose that's really it for the topic. Now, before I go on to the lore stuff around this expansion, I just want to touch up on something that I forgot to mention here, and that is that there is a new world PvP zone. I am forgetting the name of it, but basically it is on the map. I will circle it or whatever. It's basically a little island off of Draenor, and it basically serves as just a huge PvP sandbox. The devs compared it to classic AV and vanilla. The fact that it is a continuous battle. It's not a queued thing like, say, Tol Barad or Wintergrasp or any of those places. It's a continual battle between the Horde and the Alliance the whole time. And that's very, very cool. And so I am very interested to see what they're going to do with that. They really didn't show off anything for it. You know, they didn't show off any screen caps, to my knowledge, or anything like that. They just showed the location and then just said some things about it. So that's really it. And so that's pretty cool. And then I believe there are other PvP features. It's called a Trial of the Gladiator or something, and it's basically like you take on people that are corresponding to your skill in arena and things of that nature. So more of a challenge and testing your skills and whatnot. So that's all well and good. I'm not really a PvPer, so I didn't you know, I didn't particularly find too much interest, but I'm definitely excited for the world PvP, because that's really the only PvP sense that I've really done since like Burning Crusade. So we'll have to wait and see, but that's all for the gameplay elements. And please correct me in the comments below if you know anything more in depth than I do, because I very well may have overlooked something or missed something on the live stream, or, you know, whatever. So feel free to correct me in the comments. So let's go ahead and move on to the lore topic. So obviously, with this whole Warlords of Draenor expansion, people have obviously had a lot of questions as to what relevance this serves after Pandaria and everything like that, and then just general reasons for being here and everything like that in Draenor. And I believe Chris Metzen said shortly after the opening ceremony, he said that the basis of this expansion is that after Garrosh is captured and taken to be tried on Pandaria, shortly after, the trying is begun, and when they're about to reach a verdict, he escapes, the bastard that he is, and that's not a surprise. We kind of figured that he would be that kind of, person to do something like that. I mean, we obviously saw that coming, so that's not, too much of a surprise. But he goes, and Chris Metzen said, okay, well, he has a friend that may, bend time, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And Garrosh is so flustered and so just pissed off and everything, so distraught after his defeat at the hands of Thrall and especially the Alliance, that now he hates our Horde. And of course, he's always hated the Alliance. He hates them so much that he goes with this time friend to basically go back and try and change the course of history, essentially. And this is where we end up at Draenor, and he goes back with people like Blackhand and Gul'dan and Ner'zhul and his father Grom and Duratan, Thrall's father, and all these, huge figures in Warcraft. And so that's kind of the premise of this expansion, if you were wondering, why exactly this came. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll develop this in, like, patch 5.5, or perhaps, like, another short story on the website, or perhaps a Warcraft book. I think it'll probably be a book. I think they hinted at that, if I remember correctly, and all sorts of stuff like that. So that, again, is just the premise of where this expansion is leading. Now, as far as official lore stuff that has been explained, it's not really like a, typical, say, like, just a typical, say, the Mount Hyjal raid in TBC, like, we really had no reason to do it other than, well, it was in Warcraft, so it was cool, and we wanted to go back and explore it. But, going back to Draenor and doing all this shit because Garrosh, we assume, is there, obviously, and plotting and trying to turn the numerous, clans of Blackrock and possibly trying to wipe out the Draenei that are there, perhaps joining the ranks of, say, Gul'dan and sinister people like that, I guess you could say. So as far as that is concerned, basically stop Garrosh, obviously. So it's like a giant Caverns of Time expansion, I guess you could say. But I don't know, like, people asked, like, about the time travel, and they're like, well, it is in the past, but it isn't. So time travel is always confusing. It's always really confusing, whether it be in a movie or a game or whatever. And Warcraft is no exception, especially with all the lore and everything surrounding it. They really didn't go that much in depth about the lore. They just basically said why we're there, and everything like that. And then most of it was gameplay features. So still the lore is pretty wide open. Again, I might have missed something or something, so correct me in the comments if you will. However, I have some theories as to what could be later in this expansion and things of that nature. So before I get into the theories that I have and just general, I guess you could say, theory crafting as to what would happen later in this expansion, I have a few videos that I would like to show off here that are, again, they're more gameplay, but they're also kind of lore-ish. Basically, it is Remaking a World is what it's titled. Basically just an overview of Draenor, and then the faction starting zones in Draenor. So I will go ahead and first play the Making a World and then explain it a little bit. basically what that video was obviously just comparing what is now Outland zones of like Akundun in Trakar Forest and Shadowmoon Valley, Black Temple, comparing those to the versions in Draenor, and obviously you can see it is a drastic change, and the art style again is just absolutely beautiful, and it really is starting to feel like a new world. Like I already want to go in and explore the world just for hours and hours and just see what's there. Definitely look forward to that once the actual expansion gets underway. The second video I'm going to go ahead and play right here is the faction zones. And each faction has a starting point. And then after the video is over, I will go ahead and put maps of those up in me discussing it. So here we go. Here are the starting faction zones in Warlords of Draenor. Okay, so that video showed great little snippets of Shadowmoon Valley and Frostfire Ridge, the new faction starting out zones. The one for the Alliance is Shadowmoon Valley, and more specifically, the Temple of Karabor, which is, as you can tell by the map, that is where Black Temple is, modern day. So very cool. Obviously, it is a Draenei sanctuary at this point in time. So very cool. I would imagine Prophet Velan will be hanging out there, possibly with Khadgar, who's going through with the Alliance and the Heroes of Azeroth, as well as Marad. And Marad is basically a Draenei that no one's really heard of, besides BlizzCon. I didn't even know who the hell he was before the developers elaborated on it. And he was basically the Draenei in the Burning Crusade cinematic and stuff like that. So we'll get to find out more about his character. And the Horde starting zone is Frostfire Ridge, and in specific, Bladespire Fortress. Now, if these are actually going to be like real cities, like legit cities, that would be pretty awesome. They may just be central hubs and stuff like that. You know, they haven't really said much on that. Again, I may have missed it, but I don't think they said much of it. Of course, there's a whole nother day of BlizzCon while I'm making this video, of course, and things of that nature. So, very, very cool. Both zones seems to fit the faction accordingly. You know, these orc brutes that are really just not afraid of, you know, these conditions in Frostfire Ridge. And then, you know, Shadowmoon Valley is looking very tranquil and very, honestly, very cool looking, and seems to fit that Draenei style. So now what I want to go ahead and do is really go into, since there wasn't much on the lore, so I suppose I went over the premise of the expansion, so that I think that's enough. I don't think I should go super in depth. There are people on YouTube that, you know, that's their job. My job is just to bring you information, but I'm not a lore expert by any means, so I've done my job as far as I'm concerned. So remember at the beginning of the video when I said this wouldn't be in parts? Well, I partially lied. I mean, this video here contained every essential thing for the game, both lore and gameplay. Again, I missed a few things, I believe. I didn't mention some things, but I kind of felt them as insignificant or just little cool things to discover. I mean, I don't like to absolutely give everything to you because I don't like knowing absolutely everything myself. So, again, feel free to correct me in the comments below or whatever, to inform other people, but there will actually be another video. It's not really deemed as another part to this video because it's really a separate video entirely. I will be getting together with Frosty over at Frosty HD. Go ahead and check out his YouTube channel. It is in my YouTube channel's featured channels. Go ahead and check him out. He makes awesome videos, and we are going to go ahead and discuss general thoughts of the expansion and everything like that I went on to say in the beginning of this video, and that's going to be a cooperative thing. So just to get the ball rolling a little bit more and do some cooperative stuff, it will be on both his and my own channel when it is released in about a day or two. So look forward to that, but this video has gone on for long enough, which is why I decided to make this. So again, this is a completely separate video from the other one, but hopefully I went over most points and went in depth enough about most things about Warlords of Draenor that you do not have too many questions. Again, if you do, leave them in the comment section below, and if you know anything that I don't, which you probably do because I don't know jack in the grand scheme of things, but feel free to do that. And this is me, Noah, from Knights of 67, and I'll see you guys next time.